Hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So, first of all, I would like to highly congratulate the Indian Armed Forces for a successfully and precisely executed Operation Sindoor, with maximum damage to the Pakistani terrorist groups and to their military, their air bases specifically, and with hardly any civilian damage, next to zero civilian damage, proving the supremacy of Indian equipment such as the Akash Tir and the BrahMos, and showing the clear lapses in American and Chinese equipment employed by Pakistan, such as the F-16 fighter jets and the HQ-9 air defense systems of China. So, it was a complete military humiliation for Pakistan. It displayed the disproportionate advantage that we enjoy in the Indian subcontinent and why we are miles ahead of Pakistan when it comes to military advancement and technology. However, this video is not to discuss the developments of Operation Sindoor specifically because they have been made very, very clear by the Indian Armed Forces. So let us dive into an analytical side of this, our international relations, about what was going on in the background. Let us dive into it, shall we? Well, first of all, the announcement of the ceasefire on the 10th of May was made by the US President Mr. Donald Trump, which clearly shows that there was an external intervention. There was an intervention by America to come and save Pakistan. Like, I imagine America literally would have humbly requested India to stop its assault on Pakistan, reminiscent of 1971, isn't it? But why? Why do you think a president who claims to be hawkish on terrorism, such as President Trump, would support Pakistan? And that's basically an I told you so moment, my dear friends. So all the so-called strategic experts and media houses who were bullish about Indo-US relations under Donald Trump, well, it's a clear statement, isn't it? What could be a bigger statement than this, that when India had the chance to finish off Pakistan forever, Mr. Trump chooses to intervene and stops India, threatening tariffs or offering lucrative trade deals or just using the diplomatic might of America to stop us? It's an I told you so moment for me. I had told you back in March, my dear friends, in a video titled India versus Israel, America's Trap for India, you can go look it up on my channel, that there is no way America is throwing Pakistan under the bus, no matter if it's the Republicans or the Democrats. Both these parties, as they should, are interested in maintaining American hegemony in the region. And that is the reason they want to save Pakistan. They know that billions of dollars cannot buy out India. It's Pakistan which would sell its own country for a few $1 billion or a few $1 million, and hence would kind of perpetuate American interests in the subcontinent. In fact, the defense minister of Pakistan clearly admitted last month that it's been 30 years since Pakistan has been doing the quote-unquote dirty work of the Americans. And what do the Americans mask this as? They mask it as an intervention to save millions of lives. Well, I don't think that's the case, my dear friends, because it's the same country, the United States, which has dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki back in 1945. They dropped atomic bombs. They extensively used chemical weapons also in Vietnam in 1975 and in the early 70s, in fact. So, it's just masking their ulterior political motives behind humanitarian grounds, acting so self-righteous and sanctimonious. Well, there was one more reason, apart from just keeping Pakistan alive. Like, why would they want to keep Pakistan alive? The obvious reason is, first of all, as we have discussed, to use them in a war against Iran. That is why the $400 million package of the F-16s has been given. And this brings me again to a point which I underscored in my previous video, that is the clandestine relationship between Israel and Pakistan. And now there is open evidence. There is open evidence that Tel Aviv and Islamabad have collaborated on a diplomatic front. What's the source of my evidence? Well, again, the favorite cute little Jewish organization, Zionist Jewish organization, which I mentioned in my last video, the American Jewish Congress. They made a press release again on the 11th of April 2025 saying that while the resolution is deeply flawed, referring to an anti-Israel resolution in the UN, there are several constructive changes driven by Pakistan and the OIC. the American Jewish Congress welcomes Pakistan's role in removing extreme provisions of a UN HRC Council resolution. So, constructive role, welcome Pakistan's role. What is this? This is clearly Pakistan batting for Tel Aviv in the OIC. Yes, my dear friends. And see, this anti-Israel provision, basically, it was edited by Pakistan, formally condemning the October 7th terror attacks, explicitly condemning Hamas rocket attacks into Israel, removing clauses that would kind of make it easier for the UN to prosecute Israeli officials. So clearly, my dear friends, Pakistan has served American interest, and hence its survival has been ensured by Washington. Because let's face it, if anything, the last year and a half had made it explicitly clear that Israel is nothing but the 51st state of the United States of America. Yes, America protects Israel just as much as it protects its own territory, and hence Pakistan serving Israeli interests has actually served American interests. Hence the intervention from Washington, hence the reward from Washington, hence the lifeline from Washington, and hence the domination of India by Washington. It should make it explicitly clear, my dear friends, that America and Israel are not our allies. They are countries serving their own interests as they should. We should look out for our own interests as well. Trump is not an ally, neither is Prime Minister Netanyahu. We should have Indian interests at the top of our mind always and forever. We should only simp for India, not for any other nation. But coming to Israel again, you know that a pretty prominent aircraft which Pakistan used in this standoff against India was the J-10C. Yes. This aircraft has a pretty interesting history, my dear friends. The J-10C is essentially a descendant of the Chengdu J-10. But where does the Chengdu J-10, the Chinese aircraft, where does this come from? So in the mid-70s and the early 80s, Israel was working on their very own indigenous aircraft. You know, like we are working on the AMCA. They were working on their very own 4.5th generation aircraft back in the 70s and the 80s. It was titled the IAI Lavy. This aircraft, the Lavy, was, according to some estimates, it would have been better than the F-16 if it would have ever entered operations in the Israeli Air Force. And this naturally irked the Americans, that Israel, one of the biggest markets of defense products which they have, it would have slipped out of their hands very clearly. So this aircraft was kind of, you can say, in 60 to 70% of the stages of development, and hence it was already, prototypes were already ready and they were trying to work on the final model. However, America back then teamed up with the then opposition coalition in Israel and ensured that this program would be scrapped. Yes, this is the other side of it. You might get nuclear umbrella of America, you might get blanket support from America, but sitting this close to Uncle Sam compromises your sovereignty. You can't even choose whether you want to develop your indigenous fighter aircraft or any advanced weapon system over there. Which is another wake-up call, by the way, for the F-35 fans in India, that if we were to go with the F-35, will we get the chance to develop our AMCA? What will happen to the Tejas Mark 1 and the Tejas Mark 2? What happens to Atmanirbhar Bharat if we go ahead with the F-35 or pursue high-level defense engagements with the Americans? Point worth pondering over, right? But I digressed. Sticking to the IAI Lavy. So once it was scrapped, what became of that? Any idea, my dear friends? Well, this technology, this wonderful technological marvel, was then sold to the Chinese. Yes, my dear friends. Initially, it was just an allegation from Russian engineers back in 2007 and 8 that the Chengdu J-10 is based on the IAI Lavy. But then in 2022 came a clear declaration. This newspaper called Haaretz, which is Israel's Times of India basically, it clearly boasted that Pakistan inducts jets based on Israeli technology, Chinese jets based on Israeli technology. So yes, this technical marvel, the IAI Lavy, becomes the Chengdu J-10 after the Israelis sell their partially developed aircraft to China. Then China develops it into the Chengdu J-10C, and which Pakistan uses for offensive operations against India. So how beautifully it comes around in a circle, right, my dear friends? And India-China rivalry is not something that's new, right? The border disputes have been going on since 1962. So didn't our great friends, our close friends, the Israelis, couldn't they basically say that no, we'll put our own national interests at the back, our Indian brothers, we won't betray them like this, we won't arm their primary adversary? Well, there's nothing like that, my dear friends, because every country, I repeat like a broken record on this channel, is out there to pursue their own national interests. And Israel would love nothing more, my dear friends, than to have massive technical collaborations with China. China is a huge market, weapons hungry, power hungry market, and with a massive industrial scale. Israel would want nothing more than to team up with China. It's just the Americans who keep that under check. Israel and China originally, it could have been a match made in heaven, but it's just American hegemony that prevented that relationship from ever becoming explicit or public or too close as such. So a lot of points to think about, my dear friends. I'll encourage you to ponder over them. And it clearly shows, my dear friends, that the West, or the Five Eyes, or NATO, or the Anglo-Saxons as they are called, they can never be your allies, my dear friends. They will again and again and again come to save Pakistan, because Pakistan is a creation of the Anglo-Saxon empire. Yes, Pakistan is not even an original ethnicity. Indians are an original ethnicity. Armenians are, Iranians are, Afghans are an original ethnicity. What's Paki? Is Paki an ethnicity? Please show me any reference to the word Pakistan before 1900s. There's none. Artificially manufactured nation, artificial history, a colonial imposition to ensure that this massive land of the Indian subcontinent always remains in its internal struggles and strife, and hence can never rise enough to challenge the hegemony of the West on an economic or otherwise military level. I hope I have more than driven home my point. I send my sympathies to all the Trump fanboys in India. I'd like to sponsor therapy for you. You know, it could have been a really traumatizing experience. So yeah, that's all, my dear friends. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all liked it. Thank you so much, friends. Jai Hind. Take care.